Great, let's get started. Good afternoon, all, and thanks for joining once again to our webinar series on CTC tools. Today, we'll be focused on plan and profile sheet creation. My name is Ramil Laksamana, and I'm one of SolidCAD's account manager for the infrastructure GIS team. Joining me today, directly from CTC, is Brian Lewandowski, civil product manager. For today's agenda, Brian will show how the native Civil 3D viewframe toolsets are used to create plan and profile sheets today. And we'll see how updating these sheets are clunky and takes precious time out of your actual design work. Then we will explore how Sheet Generator can help create the same sheets, how it allows for a more flexible workflow, and witness the dynamic upgrading of sheets automatically. A live demo will illustrate how this can be help with your day-to-day work, and we'll conclude our session with a final Q&A discussion. So please go ahead and type your questions, and they will be addressed. Just a quick introduction. For those of you that are new to SolidCAD and what we do, well, we're an authorized Autodesk reseller that's kept the platinum status, the highest, for over 25 years. We specialize in technology to help support clients in industries such as architecture, engineering, construction, civil infrastructure, and manufacturing. Through our services and consultation, training, workflow assessment, and technical support, SolidCAD has delivered solutions to our clients to help maximize ROI for their technological investments. Here are several types of services required to our clients, from conducting online training courses for your new Civil 3D users, template creation, to our infrastructure university events. SolidCAD's aim is to keep you well ahead of the latest advancements. We have a dedicated combined team of 11 civil specialists located coast to coast, ready to assist you in various time zones, with training facilities and offices spanning across Canada. Now, SolidCAD has incorporated CTC as part of our product line because we wanted to be partnered with the industry leaders in productivity tools. Now, since 2010, CTC has developed add-ons for Civil 3D and Revit, and they've established membership with Autodesk as part of the developer network. They're leading the pace in developing BIM and SIM technologies and software services. As of 2019, these Express tools have been used by more than 64,000 users worldwide, and in more than 75% of the top firms in the United States alone. With that, I'll hand it over to my colleague for a demo on sheet creation using CTC's Sheet Generator. Brian?
Great, thank you, Ramil. Ramil, I assume you can hear me okay?
Yep, perfect.
All right, great. Thanks for the introduction, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining Ramil and I today. We're looking forward to showing you what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and make a transition here. So plan and profile sheets today in Civil 3D, I thought we'd start there. So we're all kind of starting at the same place. And so we can understand what we're trying to solve with the new tool set that we're introducing to you. So plan and profile sheet creation today, that's the plan production tools in Civil 3D. They are great in most ways for creating sheets. And those of you who have used them, or if you haven't, just take my word for it, they're not so good with updating sheets, meaning once you create them, right, going back and changing them after there's shifts in alignments or match line placement, you kind of got to delete everything and recreate them or manually update them yourself. A big time consuming task. And some of the other stuff, the view frames and the match lines, they're really difficult to edit, right? When you create them, they have a little flexibility, but they're kind of weird objects and they're not so easy to work with. And one of the most common ones I hear, I mean, this is a reason a lot of people won't use the view frame tool set, is how it creates your profile views themselves on your sheet in terms of stationing range and elevation ranges. It's just inflexible. And so people don't use them. Or if they do, they've kind of made a lot of compromises or have to do a lot of busy work after the fact. So what is a better option? Well, we want to talk to you about Sheet Creator. This is one of the major tool sets in a suite of tools offered by SolidCAD and CTC. What this tool set does is completely replaces the tool set you're used to, yet it dovetails in with what you're used to in terms of how sheet creation works in general in Civil 3D and AutoCAD. So we're going to create dynamically linked plan and profile sheets. Dynamic meaning we don't just create them and then they're just kind of static sheets. We can update them after the fact. So when changes happen in your design, updating those sheets, be it match lines, the viewports themselves, the profile views like station and elevation ranges, sheet set fields, right? If you're using sheet set manager, sheet numbers and stationing values, north arrows. I mean, there's a lot that goes into our sheets, right? And if we've got a long plan and profile sheet set, or it could be plan and plan or profile and profile, this tool set handles all those scenarios, right? There's a lot of stuff that would need to change there. Some of you might be thinking, you know, I get my plan and profile sheets set and then I don't touch them. And that's great. And I hear that a lot too, but wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to like lock them in at 30% and you always had that flexibility? So think of it that way too. Maybe you haven't needed to change because you always just locked that in place, right? You're no longer constricted in that way. It's a much more flexible workflow. And I'm going to walk you through a few different modules that basically cover each step. It's a single tool, but it's made up of 6 different modules, different subcommands you can launch to manage different pieces of your entire sheet setup. So as Ramil mentioned, feel free to type in questions into the Q&A system there. I've got that open on my side. I'll try to address them as we go along here. Or if it's too involved, I will wait till the end, and we'll have a dedicated Q&A session at the end as well. So with that, I'm going to jump into Civil 3D. I'm running 2022 here, and I've got a couple example drawings, one for us to start with here to help get the point across here. I don't want to create a whole project from scratch in front of you guys. So we're going to start with a drawing ready to go. The tool set we're focused on is Sheet Generator, right over here. Multiple modules. It's part of the entire Sim project suite, which installs right in your Civil 3D. And there's all sorts of tools for pipes and grading and corridors and labeling and you name it. We've done other webcasts in the past on those, and we'll do future ones coming up. Make sure you guys are aware of all these different things that are available to you guys. But it comes as one package, the Sim Project Suite, a single license for it, and then you have access to all the tools. So, Sheet Generator, like I said, what we're after is finding a better way than this native tool set, the plan production tool set here, where we create view frames and then we create sheets, okay? The end goal on this is the same. I want a bunch of layout tabs with all my viewports and north arrows and everything set up and ready to go. But we're not going to use any of that. We're using everything through Sheet Generator. And so let me walk you through it. We're going to start with laying out our plan views. We'll move on to then creating profile views, and we'll have all that to look at and understand and basically analyze before we move on to actually creating the sheets. And then we'll focus on the key point of this tool set, which is not just creating the sheets, but the updating of them. And that's when we'll look at this last module that allows us to take a whole series of layouts and update them based on changes to our project. So I want to focus on the process and the workflow here. This isn't a detailed training. This is to give you a sense of what the tool can do, but we have tons of resources to help you learn the tool set down the road. So like I said, we're going to start with laying out our plan views. There's a tool called Plan View Shapes. This is, we have a term called View Shapes. It's kind of a play on the word View Frames, the native phrase, and View Shapes kind of fill that same role. And we start with what you might think, right? What's my alignment, okay? Now I can use, this happens to be a data shortcutted alignment. It's not live in this drawing, but I could also use XREF alignments. And then I've got a starting station. I can type that in, or I can come out to my drawing and pick a starting point if I want, okay? And then a viewport scale. This is reading by default from my current drawing scale, but I can set it to whatever I want. Now, there's another concept here. I mentioned view shapes. Those are basically going to be our viewports, but in model space. We have another thing here called a print area block. And so what is this? What's going to help you guys understand this a lot better is if I click right over to my standard sheet template, this is basically an empty template with my, well, it's just some of the out-of-the-box stuff from Autodesk, right? But you would use your custom sheet template. And what I have in here are two simple AutoCAD blocks with an insertion point over here. And for convenience, I put a little rotation parameter in mine as well. It's a simple polyline turned into a block. What this area represents is the area where you're going to create your viewports within, or I should say the tool is going to do it for you, and how your sheets will be laid out. So like for my standards, I've got a space in here because I want to drop in some notes or tables, right? You have your own setup and you would create that accordingly. Okay, so now that we know what that is, that rectangle, we're calling it a print area block. And I get to choose where that lands. I'm going to start with centered, and we'll come back to that in a bit here. Now, what block do I want to use? I just need to reference the block I have in that layout tab. That's this one here. And what layer do I want it to be on? Okay. The next tab is about my match lines. Now, based on that print block and my scale, it figured out that I could have a maximum distance of 170 meters between that. Now I can make a decision. I don't want to go that full length. I'm going to back off 10 meters on each side and go 150 meters. I can also have it round the station to the nearest 10 meters or whatever value I choose. And then I can, there's a nice little feature in here about avoiding alignment vertices. So this is where my match lines are going to land. I can make sure it avoids PCs and PTs and things like that in my alignment, places I may not want match lines to land. And the view shape is going to be my model space representation of my viewport. Now, what do we want to do with those? Do we want to clip them at our match lines? Or some people show data beyond that? That would be this option here. And further, do we want match lines at the beginning of my set or not? And finally, one other new term I'm introducing here called drafting guides. These are basically model space representations of my match lines. We simply choose a layer that they're going to land on. And I'm going to hit finish here because visually it's going to really make sense then what we are creating and what I'm talking about once you can see it. So this is laying out our model space. Okay, so what the tool did was take that block that I had on my layout tab down here, scaled it by the scale I gave it, and then placed it along my alignment based on the insertion parameters I gave it. And then these are my drafting guides. These are just simple polylines. And then from there, the tool is creating a polyline that will represent my viewport in my actual layout tab. Okay, so some of you might be thinking like, okay, these aren't even those view frame things. These are just blocks and polylines. And you're right. And we did that intentionally. One, because we don't want to introduce like proprietary objects into your drawings. And two, what if something lays out, you know, this laid out my whole project here, but what if it isn't quite where I want it? you can move this stuff anywhere you want. You want to tweak that a little bit, move the entire print block, that's the representation in my sheet, and then the viewport itself will be this thing right here. So you can adjust that however you want. And when it comes time to creating layouts, the viewports will be modeled exactly after that. So there's manual tweaking you can do after the fact, or if you run it like this and you decide, well, maybe let's try a different scale. And come back in here, adjust this. Now, because I chose a 200, I can't fit as much within my match line. So now it shrinks to 136 for a max. I'll put this at 120 for an example. Now I'll click finish, and what you'll see is all my plan layouts update. Okay, shrinking down to a different scale. So I can try things out, see if I like it or not, very easily flip back. Okay, you can run that as many times as you want to get the desired result. And now look what it did here. We've got, maybe that's too much overlap, right? So I left my spacing between match lines at the 200 scale one. I didn't bump it back to 150. So if I do that, it pushes it back to less overlap. Okay. So again, this is my viewport, the cyan line. The red block, that is simply a copy of what I placed on my layout template. And then based on insertion of these drafting guides, or let's call them model space match lines, we can assemble what our model views will look like. And I don't care about desktop connector right now. Okay, so that's laying out plan views. Like I said, run it over and again, update it. We'll use that exact tool when we come back and we make updates to our project after, a hypothetical project change that we'll do in this presentation. Next thing is profile views. Now, if you were doing only plan sheets, you wouldn't even do this step, but we're showing plan and profile. The tool set, like I've said, will handle plan only. It'll handle plan and plan. It'll handle plan and profile, and it'll handle profile. It'll handle profile only as well, but it's all alignment based. So for linear type projects. Now, this next tool, we actually leverage the native tool set to begin the creation of our profile views. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. It's the native tool. And all I'm doing is just setting the length of my profile views to match the distance between my match lines over here. Okay. And I'm going to drop all my profile views over here. So notice, if you're used to the native tool set, that creation of profile views doesn't happen until after you create all your sheets. This is one thing a lot of our customers enjoy about this tool set, is that you get all your plan and profile views in model space before you create your sheets. And so you can do whatever work you might want on them, and then go and cut your sheets. And this is kind of a small sample project, but the process, if we had 50 sheets, would be pretty much the same. We just might have a couple more drawings depending on how we structure our projects. Now here's where the process is a little different. We create profile views, and then I use a couple modules to work with them and update them how I want. One of the things I skipped in the create profile views step was to add pipe networks to this. We've got a networks to views command in here. And what it does is allow you to pick, I'm going to choose all down in the command line. It's going to highlight all my profile views. So there's no UI that shows up for this. It prompts me in the command line, select a horizontal distance of the parts to the alignment. I'll just leave it at 50 meters, that's plenty. And it searches for all pipe networks 50 meters left and right of the alignment and inserts them in the profile view. And there's kind of a little nuanced reason why we do that as a separate module here. And the reason is that the pipes and structures that get added to this view are only those that appear within the station and the elevation range. Actually makes a big difference in drawing performance. And so we made a separate little module to kind of manage that. Okay, now looking at my profile views, I know we don't have tons of labeling and all that. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff with you guys here, or focus more on the overall sheet creation. But how do these things sit? Looking at the elevations, I've got it starting at kind of a random elevation range. Like if I open my profile views here, you know, it goes from kind of an odd number to an odd number. A lot of people want to have it go to like a major grid, okay? Or maybe it's not centered appropriately, like down here, I want it more centered on the profile and the pipe network itself. So we've built this adjust profiles command to allow you to pick any number of your profile views. And I'm walking through a, you know, starting from scratch drawing for our sheet. So I'm going to select all of those. And then we can manipulate all of our profile views with this simple command. Let's take a little step back. Some of you might be wondering, why all the different tools? Okay, let's keep in mind, this is not a one-way street where we just go through a big 20-page wizard and then we make sheets at the end. What we're after is a dynamic solution that allows me to go back and forth at any stage in my sheet creation and change things, update things, right? And so that's why we've broken out into separate modules like this. So we're in the stage of where we're adjusting our profile views, and then we'll move on and start creating our layout soon. Again, questions as they come up, feel free to type them into the system. I'll address them as we go along, or wait till the end if that makes sense. So the adjust profile views. Well, first thing we're going to do is make sure they match my plan view stations. Okay. So I just created profile views, but it doesn't necessarily know what station to start at. So I'm going to say, find all my plan view shapes, these cyan ones on this layer, and match and read the stations from there and assign that to my profile views. Here's another feature we added beyond the native tool set. We can actually add station overlap in our profile views. Maybe that's not your standard, but if it is, it's really easy to do now. So I can add 5 meters in the front and the back, or whatever number I want. Now the next piece is about the profile view heights. First off the bat, I want to make sure that the starting elevation and the ending elevation lands on a major elevation tick from my profile view style. So I've got that turned on. And then I want to make sure the elevation range is centered on objects. And I can choose from basically anything I might have in my profile view: surface profiles, layout profiles, pipe and pressure networks. I can specify an overall profile view height. And then I can center that overall view height on the highest, the median, or the lowest elevation of those objects within that particular view. Now that's kind of the smarter one, where it automatically figures out elevation ranges for you. But you could just do a fixed height, or you could do a delta change to what you have out here. So it's a very flexible tool, right? One of the key things I mentioned about Sheet Generator is that it gives you way better control on your profile view appearance. That's this tool right here, this module. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to zoom in a little closer first so you can kind of see the change a little better. We're going to shift the station on all these. We're going to modify the elevation ranges to meet all of our parameters. So I'm going to hit OK over here, and you'll see everything change on the left. Okay, we're going to regen. And now these station values match plan view. Elevations are based on the data within the profile view. And because we actually made a pretty substantial profile view shift, some of my pipes and structures that should be there aren't there. It's no problem. Simply run networks to views again. Remember the command we did just before? Run that again. Click all profile views. Remembers my previous settings. Just hit enter to that. And those pipes and structures that were missing just come back in there. The title of our webcast is, I think, something like Automated Iterative Plan and Profile Sheets. Iterative means we understand it's an iterative process. You need to make different decisions along the way. That's why we have kind of different modules for you to be able to make decisions along the way about how your sheets are created and updated, of course. Now, the last piece before we create our profile views themselves is to figure out where those profile views will land in our sheets. I've got a block down here. My profile views need to fit within this block so that I have, as I mentioned, space for my text or tables or notes or whatever might be there. Maybe you have sheets where these are real close together, right? Whatever your standard is, the tool will work with that. By the way, we give these sample drawings with the tool itself. You can download from the CTC software website. Very easy things to get started with. So this last little module before we create the sheets allows me to place that print area around my profile view so I understand how it's going to sit in the sheet itself. And one of the key things we're after is what? Oftentimes my left match line in profile view needs to align horizontally or vertically, depending on how you're thinking about it, with my plan view on that same sheet. That's all about viewport positioning. We give you lots of control on that as well. I'm going to align it with my plan view match lines. And there's some options here again for choosing alignment and print area block. Some of these options, by the way, why are these here? Well, what if you've got 4 different alignments in your project, right? What if you've got a set of plan and profile sheets for 2 northbound sheets and then another 2 sets for some east or westbound sheets, right? Those are different sets of plan and profile sheets. So you kind of manage those with different sets and just a few different layers here to keep them all straight. Touching on the positioning offsets down here, this is about small tweaks for the profile view where it sits within the sheet. We've got detailed adjustments we can make. This is something, again, that you'll figure it out for your standard and then you'll leave it. I'm going to do -8 on here. I think that's what works for mine, but we can run this again and you'll see. I choose a few more block and layer options. Again, that's just based on my sheet template and what layers I want things to land on. And then we introduce another feature in here. Remember that 5-meter buffer I put at the end of my profile views? And if I look down here, this profile view ends at 0 plus 195. This one starts at 0 plus 185. So they overlap by 5 meters. Now you can leave them like that, or we've also given you the option to mask the objects or the data in your profile view in that buffer area if you wish. And we do that with a simple AutoCAD block. And so I'm going to place that in that buffer area. And you'll see what it looks like when we click finish here. Okay. So there's that grid that's masking that data in that overlap area. Again, just a feature that's available. You don't have to use it. But what we do is we, again, this comes in the sample drawing you can have. It's a simple AutoCAD block with some of my kind of grid standards in it, meant to mask that area. Maybe you don't do that in your profile views. If so, you don't need that. I talked about positioning of the profile view. Maybe you don't want it quite so low down here. You want to tweak it a little bit. Okay, simply run the command again. Instead of that -8, let's go to -9. And you'll see the views just adjust ever so slightly. Okay, so very easy to kind of massage the way your sheets will look. And like I said, again, a lot of these layouts, or excuse me, some of these parameters, you'll kind of lock in on them for your standard and you'll just be off and running. Some of you might be seeing this like, well, look, our text isn't fitting in there. What's going on with that? Well, the length of this profile view is based on what? This is based on my plan views, okay? So however much space you have between your plan view match lines, that's what the size of these profile views will be. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we adjust our plan views, let's run this. And I had said, put a match line at the beginning of the station range. Let's turn that off. Click finish. Now that's gone. Now that's going to adjust my profile view station range. Let's go and tweak this view to match the plan view again. And it remembers all your previous settings. So you can just kind of like launch the tool, hit OK, you're off and running. And then let's make sure we reposition this within the print area again. Okay. And now what, right? So this is the flexibility that we give, but it's still your decision on what to do. Now I've got too much stationery I'm trying to fit in there. So I want to give you guys a feel of how you can work with this, right? And I can do this on a single sheet at a time, like this, or I can do it in mass. So I'm going to shift this back to, let's go to about there. So maybe I don't want the match line, but I want to manually control where it starts. Adjust that profile view. Reposition in my sheet print area. Okay. Regen, update those pipe networks. I'm still overlapping a little bit. What am I missing there? I think it's because I'm so close right over here. Yeah, I don't want to bore you guys with too much of that. The other thing to point out though is that this is where this is going to land in the sheet, right? This cyan line represents this rectangle right here. So while I was trying to automate some of it, moving this around, simply that affects the, where that view will sit as well. So you got a lot of options on how you kind of work with it, because at the end of the day, when we create or update our layouts, it's simply based on these rectangles, and then everything in the sheet will update or create based on that. All right, let's move on. Let's create some sheets. Create layouts, rather. That's the name of the command. Click that option there. It prompts me the drawing has unsaved changes. Do you want to save them? I'll say yes. Then it launches a module for creating our layouts. Okay. Now I've glossed over some of these options we've been in here that we've used, and some that I didn't quite touch on. Notice every one of these tools, and this is the case for every tool in the Sim Project Suite. You click on Help, it opens a detailed user guide for the entire Sim Project Suite. So here's my, let's zoom out a little bit there. Talking about the different tools in here. We've got detailed explanations on what each and every tool does. I'm just going to scroll down to the sheet generator tool. It talks about workflow, the process. Okay, detailed explanations. For example, remember when we were creating the plan views and there was that centered and the offset horizontal option? It's about detailed control on the placement of your viewports relative to the match lines. Center just centers them across the match lines. Offset horizontal inserts them at the first match line, and you have a detailed value you can enter to have it shift along the length of those match line and alignment intersections. Okay. So detailed user guides. If you click on the videos button, there is a playlist that you'll be brought to for just that specific tool set, with introductory videos as well as deep dive videos on configuring and making Sheet Generator work for you. Okay. You can also click the support button, get in touch with Ramil's support team, right? So a lot of help behind these tools to make sure you guys can quickly and easily take advantage of them. Back to creating layouts. we're going to create plan and profile layouts, but here's those 5 or 4 other options rather than I was talking about. What are the source objects? Okay, we got our alignment, our plan view shape layer, our plan print area. Okay, these are just block and layer names that tell me which set of plan views to use. And again, this is if we had multiple streets or multiple alignments that we are creating different sheets, we need to be able to separate those. There's a list based on station range of all the layouts that we're going to create. That's based on match line stations. We have options for north arrows and match lines. I can use my standard north arrow for my company. The match lines themselves, what we use is an attributed AutoCAD block. And then we populate those attributes with values from the sheets themselves. So this is a block I have in here called match line. And I'm going to populate the station field to the attribute I have named station sheet number. So there's 4 different values that the tool can populate into your company match line. Now, maybe you have sheet name. I didn't want that in mine. I've just got sheet number. And then there's a flip state option. We have a single match line that works for both the left and the right side of the sheet. And it's just what this is, it's the dynamic block parameter that knows, so we know which thing to flip in the block so that it shows on both the left and the right side. Again, this comes in the sample drawing so you can look at it. They're very simple blocks. I'll show you after we create the sheets what they look like. Do we want match lines at the beginning or the ending station? In my case, I'm going to say no. And then profile match lines. If any of you have to do this, you know there's no way to do it natively. We can handle that here if you wish. And then you can control how they place vertically based on objects in the profile views themselves. I'm going to let them center right on the profile views and go from there. Now, what layout do I want to duplicate? This is this tab right down here, my empty layout template. This tool is going to create multiple new drawings for us. I'm going to say, up to 10 layouts per new drawing. I've got a small sample project here, so it's all going to land on one drawing. But if you had 50 and you wanted 10 or 5 in each drawing, you can do that. What's the name of the layout tab? We've got a sheet, or excuse me, a name template, where we can use different parameters from our project, viewport scale, and then the new drawing, the name template, and then finally, sheet set manager, the native tool set that helps you manage all your sheets. Sheet generator works with that as well. So you can path to one of those. And finally, we're going to hit finish. And what you're going to see is a new drawing generated, and then you're going to see all these layouts created based on what we've configured here. So I'll hit finish. So it's doing a couple things. It's making those layouts. It's inserting viewports at both plan and profile based on what we call the view shapes, just standard polylines in model space. And whatever data we had showing within those polylines in model space, that's what appears. I mean, this basically represents my viewport right here, okay? And then an open sheet set manager for convenience. And I can double click on one of those layouts it created and we can see what we got. So here are my sheets created. There is the viewport it generated. These are the match line blocks where it populated station values as well as sheet names. Now this is kind of just a simple match line block. Again, you can do whatever you want. But what these are, if I open them in Block Editor, I've got a couple attributes in here, one for sheet number, one for sheet station or station value. I've got a piece of M text in here that with just the text C sheet. And then I've got a polyline with a global width on it. Okay. Probably not winning awards for artistic value on that match line. But again, it's in that sample file. Take it, make your own, and they're very simple. Kind of click through some of these other ones. Down in profile view, you can see I have that grid spacing where in my case, I didn't want anything to show there, but I wanted grid. I have the match lines. Okay, you don't have to do any of that in profile view. It's an option though. And then the tabs themselves are named based on those match line station ranges. So that's creating the sheets. What about updating the sheets? I already showed you how to update the sheets. It's all these tools. They're all the same, whether you're creating or updating sheets. So at any stage, we can go back and, you know, when I was messing around with this one here, we can do that at any stage and then run update layouts instead of create layouts. So I can mess with this set of data in model space all day long, and at any time, push those changes to my layouts. And so what does it look like? It could be any number of things. It could be the project was extended and I've got a couple more sheets. It could be it was extended at the start and I need to back up all of my sheets. Let's take that scenario. It's kind of the biggest effect, right? We're going to make it so every single sheet has to change. I mean, this water line or storm line was backed up a little bit. I'm going back to here now. Okay, I need a new set of plan views. I'm going to run plan view shapes. Instead of starting at 0 plus 40, I'm going to start at 0 plus 20. I'm going to go to the same end now. All the other settings are going to be remembered. So you guys are going to see how fast this becomes because it remembers your settings. You're just making adjustments from the previous scenario. I want the same match line stationing. I want the same settings everywhere. So I'm going to click finish. You'll see everything shift by those 20 meters. And if we look at our plan views now, we know everything is screwed up, right? This line here is what my new viewport position and rotation should be. And here what it is currently. So we're kind of wreaking havoc on everything. I shifted everything 20 meters in plan view. I've got to do the same in profile view. I run adjust profiles, choose all my profiles, remembers all the previous settings, except this time it's going to scan for my current plan view stations and shift everything. So we should see 20 meter shifts in all these station values. I'm going to hit OK to this. Okay. Now I'm running this on this sheet drawing. Okay, depending on the size of the project, say I had 20 sheets and I put 10 sheets in each drawing. I would do the process I'm showing you now just twice in 2 different drawings, but you can update all those at once. Now there's a couple alternative workflows for this. I have a fairly simple one I'm showing you guys today, but I'll make a few notes of that after the fact where we leverage additional XREFs and things like that for larger scale projects. That had adjusted my profile views. I need to make sure that my profile views sit within my viewport in such a way that that the starting station of plan and profile line up. So this is the profile view shapes command, the outside cyan line. We want to reposition those. I click finish on this. And again, I'm trying to do what? I'm trying to fit too much sheet into my first one. I should have done match lines. Let's do that again. Let's put a match line at the beginning. Let's adjust this profile view. So now we have a shorter station range. There we go, that'll fit in there. Again, you can always manually tweak them, but the tool's automated for us. And you know, I was just doing one there. We could do all 8 of them at once if we were kind of tweaking something. By the way, this station range gets cut off because I've got, like, my alignment just kind of ends. So real project drawings, right, your alignment would likely go beyond and past that. And so we could have that view extend right to the end of our viewport. Now, if there's some pipes or structures that aren't showing because of the shift, just run networks to views again. Grab all of your profile views. Again, we'll look 50 meters left and right of the alignment. And then we'll add in any pipes and structures that might be missing for that view. Now, other things like labeling of your sheets. There's other tools in here like Label Genie is phenomenal for labeling sheets, both in model space or through layout. Again, we're focused on just the sheet creation here. And then here's what we're after, right? Updating our layouts. I've shown you a lot of enhancements and features along the way that improve the process and the workflow or the native tool set. But the crux of this is, how do we update layouts? And it's just as I'd shown you, use any of these modules to adjust any plan or profiles that you want in model space. Then run update layouts, which is, you could read this like push model space changes to my layouts. That's basically what this command is. So I'm going to run that. It's prompting me to save changes. I'll say yes. And this command is very much like the create layouts command. It'll be a little different though. Again, it's a plan and profile configuration. There's my layers and block settings for both plan and profile. Because this will update not just viewports, but north arrows and match lines. Now it's going to remember what you chose before, but you have to tell it what to update, right? I'm going to tell it what north arrow to update, which match line. Basically, I would just point to a block. And same with the profile match line blocks. I inserted those as well. I'm going to hit next. And here's the tab that's a bit different. It's showing me in the left column here all of the station ranges of my current match line set, right? Basically the start and end of each view. And then it's finding the layout name that it thinks it should match up with. And it does a really good job. It most of the time just matches this up. But you can always change it. Like if you had such a substantial change and shift in your views and your station ranges, you know, you can always kind of override it if it's not lining up the way you want. Okay. There's some other filter settings to kind of help manage that if you're pushing changes to many more sheets at once. And then finally down here, it's going to update the DST file, the sheet set file itself. I'm going to click finish to this. And much like the create layouts command, you're going to see all of these layouts update based on those changes. So it's viewports, it's north arrows, it's match lines, everything based on those model space changes. And I did it for all layouts at once, but you can do it for a single one. You can do it for half of them, whatever the case may be. So layout tabs, the names change down here. The stationing itself updated to the new station values. Okay. Now the red lines here, those are just my print blocks. You can have them on a no plot layer, or if you want to just freeze them like that, right? We don't have to show those. Okay. So that is Sheet Generator. That's part of the Sim Project Suite. I know it might feel like, oh, there's a lot to that, a lot of commands. But ask yourself, how much time do you spend doing this, right? Or ask yourself, wouldn't it be nice to be able to adjust and tweak sheets at any stage of the project to optimize things, right? Sometimes it's the smallest thing, like You don't even have to shift your sheets, but your match lines shifted just 5 meters, right? And it throws off all of these match line labels and everything, right? Even those small adjustments can just cost you hours of time. So sheet generator is a whole new workflow. It's quite an easy workflow to pick up. And once you're used to it, you'll wonder, why did I ever do it the old way? You know. So that is sheet generator. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us today. If you've got questions, feel free to type them into the system. We'll hang out for a bit here and take any questions that come in. Or if you can't think of anything right now, you can always contact us after the fact.
Yes, thanks again, Brian. The floor is now open for your questions, so please type those in the Q&A icon below. For a trial of the sheet generator and the entire sim project suite, please let us know. We're more than happy to provide that free trial. And if it fits, we can do a dedicated demo for you and the entire team to showcase to you our other workflow solutions, tools, productivity tools. So I don't see any questions coming in. With that, I would like to thank for your time, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care.